Philadelphia 76ers is they tried to play two different things. They tried to play contender, and they tried to play protect Joel Embiid. It wasn't doing Joel Embiid any good. And this goes back to what I've talked about numerous times on this network. Why did they let him play in the first place? Why was he on the Olympic team? I mean, we looked at it last year in the playoffs against the Knicks. The damn kid was on one leg.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching!
Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What?
How do you do this one?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Hello and welcome to a Thursday Live right here on the Early Line on SportsGrid and all across the SportsGrid network. That includes sportsgrid.com/watch, where you can find your favorite destination and consume everything all across the grid. He is Donnie Rightside. I am Ben Stevens. We are here together for the next 3 hours up until 11 a.m. Eastern Time, live on a Thursday as a huge week in college basketball continues. Regular season finale week at the high major level. More conference tournaments in action today. Deeper in to said conference tourneys where spots in the big dance are soon at stake. And, of course, a large night around the association as well. History in Boston. Cleveland keeps on rolling. An 8-game NBA slate. But DRS, what a busy Wednesday afternoon it was around the National Football League. 1 week away from the official start to the league year in 2025. We had so much news. People going, people staying, record-setting contracts, a lot to break down around the NFL here on this Thursday morning.
Yeah, the NFL is king. Isn't it really? Like every 15 minutes yesterday, I was checking my phone. Something new was going off. The Philadelphia Eagles signing Zach Bond. DK Metcalf now out on the market. Bosa's getting cut. The 49ers trying to lowball Brock Purdy. T. Higgins not available by phone call for any other teams that are trying to inquire. So a lot of great stuff is happening. But understand this. Like college basketball is a large card tonight, Ben. Maybe only one marquee game per se in the Big Ten, which deals with Michigan State. Hint, hint, they'll play really good defense tonight. But outside of that, you better be dipping your toes in the water in some of these lower level conferences here, really balling out and having fun. It's great to watch here. March Madness, some people say it doesn't begin till next Sunday when we have Selection Sunday. Nah, people. It's right here. It's already underway.
Not Donnie Rightside as he's breaking down team totals and what matchups favor who in like-by-like competition here at this level. High major in women's college basketball conference tournament starting yesterday in full as well. But let's get to the big NFL news. There had been some speculation this offseason that maybe, just maybe, things were souring in Seattle for wide receiver DK Metcalf, and yesterday it became official. Metcalf requesting a trade from the Seahawks. He has spent all 6 years of his NFL career in Seattle. Now it seems his days in the Pacific Northwest are coming to a close.
Yeah, by the way, releasing another wide receiver in Lockett. Now, DK Metcalf unhappy. That's what happens when there's a little bit of turmoil possibly at the quarterback position. Superstar wide receivers say, you know what? I think we might be rebuilding and or not be as competitive as I want them to be. I want to be the focal point of the offense, also get paid and win football games. Now, having said that, the Seattle Seahawks are saying like, hey, you know what? How about a 1 and a 3 and he wants $30+ million years a wide receiver? That's a starting point. That's not going to happen. But DK Metcalf on the open market here per se, as a free agent, he would get $30 million. He's not. You have to trade and give up compensation. That'll affect it. But him being on the market itself, where another team can grab him, hello, Green Bay Packers, go get him.
There is already some trade speculation about Green Bay and DK, maybe even the LA Chargers, who under the radar made a run at DK Metcalf last offseason. We'll talk about the Bolts in just a moment. But for a while, it was Justin Jefferson, the highest paid non-quarterback in NFL history. We thought another wide receiver in Jamar Chase would reset that market at some point this offseason. Could still happen in Cincinnati. But now he's going to have to pass not just Justin Jefferson, but Max Crosby, the outstanding edge rusher from Las Vegas. Now the highest paid non-QB ever in the history of the NFL. A 3-year deal worth $106.5 million DRS on annual average value. That is $35.5 million per year. Max Crosby, a cornerstone of this Raiders rebuild, the highest paid non-quarterback ever in the National Football League.
We'll get talking to this a little bit later, and I don't want to spoil some of the talking points. Max Crosby is a phenomenal football player. Max, what you should have done, say you don't want to be in Vegas anymore. You want to go to a contender. You'd get high pay, and you'd be worth it to that franchise. This is a bad football team signing record-breaking deals. When does that ever work out? It never does.
They do have a lot of cap space, north of $92 million this offseason, second most only behind New England, and you need at least one good player on the roster moving forward. Brock Bowers on the other side, the record-setting rookie tight end, now about to enter year number 2. We go to Los Angeles. A 9-year run with the Chargers has come to a close. The Bolts announcing yesterday they are releasing veteran edge rusher linebacker extraordinaire Joey Bosa. Was the last San Diego Charger drafted 3rd overall in 2016 out of Ohio State when the Chargers were still in San Diego. A 5-time Pro Bowler DRS, played 14 games this year, was a Pro Bowler in 2024, but the previous 2 seasons, only 14 games in total. Regardless, his 9-season run with the Bolts is now over.
He's a really good football player on a team with cap space as well, looking to be on the come up there in the AFC West, and they're releasing him, so buyer beware. But we do need this, though. Doesn't he need to get released, which he did, and find his way somewhere staying in the state of California and head north and play with his brother in San Francisco? That's got to be some good content. I think it needs to happen.
Already 49ers rumors for Joey and Nick Bosa to reunite once again. Nick Bosa, 2nd overall pick, has a leg up on his brother back in 2019. You've seen that meme from Breaking Bad where Aaron Paul's character yells out, "How does he keep getting away with this?" You could ask that question about Howie Roseman in Philadelphia. After the record-setting deal, the extension for Saquon Barkley, Zach Bond is back in Philly. DRS, that was not expected because he came from New Orleans on the cheap this previous offseason. Where do the Eagles get the money? A 3-year, $51 million deal to keep Zach Bond in the city of brotherly love.
Yeah, the bald eagle's back in town, and the Eagles needed that. And Vic Fangio is probably the happiest guy on the planet. You want to talk about a guy that he basically handpicked and said, no, he is going to be an inside linebacker, not a pass rusher, and was the quarterback of that defense and the highest-rated linebacker in the NFL and Super Bowl champion, first-time All-Pro. They had to bring him back. And the funny part about it, Ben, is you're right with Howie Roseman. Like, he was signed basically like a $1.5–2.5 million deal last year with incentives. Now he's going to make like 5 to 10 times that. And you know what? His salary cap number is probably lower than it was last year. I don't know how Howie does it. He just does it.
$3.5 million last year on a 1-year deal. His first in Philadelphia. Now the 4th highest paid linebacker in the NFL. A huge Wednesday evening in college basketball and a couple of huge road wins for some short road dogs. Florida goes into Tuscaloosa and knocks off Alabama 99-94 in a high-scoring affair over 179.5. The Gators win outright as a 3.5-point dog. Maryland picks up a massive road win in Ann Arbor over Michigan, 71-65. The Terps win outright as a 2.5-point dog.
Yeah, no, I like the Terps in that game, but I missed on the Alabama game. The one thing they didn't miss on was too many shots between Alabama and Florida. Oh, my goodness. How can they get over 180? Yeah, take a look. They did.
Quickly, some NBA news. The Cleveland Cavaliers just keep winning basketball games, make it 12 wins in a row, albeit a tighter game than expected. The Cavs were a 12-point home favorite, only winning by 4 against Miami. Cleveland now, DRS, first team to clinch a playoff berth around the association. That's what happens when you're 52-10.
Yeah, good basketball team, no doubt about it. Yesterday, I thought that game would go over the total. Late three-point shot, I believe, was waved off, which would have given us the over the total. But Cleveland just continues to win. Just win, baby. It's what they do.
But some history in Boston. Peyton Pritchard, 43 points. Derek White, 41 points. The first Celtics duo ever to both have 40-plus in the same game. The first teammates with at least 9 made threes in the same game. More around the association later. NFL news up next.
So my team didn't win this weekend, but I still did with this app that's taking over the game. Sports Millions Pick'em lets you make quick and easy predictions. Pick your favorite players, go higher or lower, and you can still win big even if your team loses. Plus, the multiplier is insane. With just a few picks, you can win big money. So get on it. They've got a welcome bonus to help you start off your winning streak.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What?
How do you do this once?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Early in the offseason around the National Football League, there was a ton of news on a Wednesday, the day after tag deadline day. I think that thing is hot. I think that thing is on. DRS, we expected some news ahead of the franchise tag window coming to a close on Tuesday afternoon at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. But 1 week away from the official start of the league year, that's next Wednesday at 4 p.m. Eastern around the NFL. Everybody in action yesterday in the National Football League. Let's start with a big trade request out of Seattle. After 6 years, all 6 years of his NFL career with the Seahawks, DK Metcalf wants out, requesting a trade from the Hawks yesterday. Again, a second-round pick way back in 2019. He spent all 6 years of his NFL career with Seattle, 100-plus targets, 900-plus receiving yards in all 6 seasons, but now is looking for greener pastures somewhere else. DK Metcalf wants to be on the move, trying to leave Seattle.
Yeah, and it looks like now the new MO, which, the salary cap goes up every year. A lot of people have a lot of money to spend, so it's very rare that some of these really good players ever just reach true free agency. So the new free agency now is, hey, I'm a great player. I'm just going to force a trade, and yes, compensation will be handled, but I'll still get my money on a new team and force my way somewhere else. And teams usually will say, you know what? What's in the best interest of our team right now? Is it having DK Metcalf at $30 million a year? Is it having DK Metcalf upset that he's not getting paid? Or is it, let's move on, get a first-round pick, and reestablish and go on the next run over the next 3 to 4 years and rebuild this franchise? But for me, this is big news around the NFL because, as I just said, teams have a lot of money to spend. There are teams like the New England Patriots picking up the phone on A.J. Brown saying, we are dying for a number one. And other number ones hear that and say, well, maybe a franchise on the come-up. I'll get 15 targets a game. I'll be paid as one of the highest paid players in the NFL. You know what? Maybe the grass is greener on the other side. But for DK Metcalf, this isn't like, hey, an aging veteran on the move. This is a guy in his prime that will be a difference maker on a team that needs a wide receiver. He could strike gold here, forcing this trade.
He is in his mid-20s. He still has a lot of football left to go. And, Donnie, we have played front office exec around the NFL this offseason and last offseason. And with that escalating salary cap, always, DK Metcalf signed a contract extension after his rookie deal was coming to a close with the Seahawks way back in the 2022 offseason, now nearly 4 years ago, for $24 million. Pretty good payday at the time. But there are 6 wide receivers around the National Football League at this current juncture that make at least $30 million per year. All 6 of those guys have signed said extension in the last 2 off seasons. Very similar story for the quarterback market as well. All 9 QBs currently making $50+ million per year signed those new deals in the last 2 off seasons. That is where the inflated value of these positional groups is going. So DK Metcalf looking around the NFL being like, I'm only getting $24 million. I'm not all that happy with the direction of this Seattle team. The Seahawks might be in for a small rebuild in year number 2 under Mike Macdonald. DK Metcalf trying to get his way out. And again, you saw the stats from a season ago. 66 grabs, nearly 1,000 receiving yards, coming up 8 yards shy, and 5 touchdowns. In all 6 years with Seattle, at least 900 receiving yards. And Donnie, based on reports, there is a lot of interest around the NFL for DK Metcalf. And of course, a team to pay attention to, that would be the Green Bay Packers. But you need to trade for DK Metcalf, so Seattle has to recoup some draft assets, and then more than likely, you're going to have to rework a contract extension with DK Metcalf, who is coming up on the final year of his deal in 2025.
That's the tough part about it, because you're not just drafting the wide receiver like, hey, he's fantastic, we're going to pay him a certain amount over the next 3 years, then probably have to negotiate. You're going to pay this guy at the top of the market and give up top-level compensation, which is why you see Seattle, swinging for the fence. Hey, if this is going to be a trade, we want a 1 and a 3 back. They're not going to get a 1 and a 3 back when you have to pay a guy $30 million a year. You should have to offset it, which is why we see some of these trades going like, wow, Debo went for a 5th or 6th round draft pick, but you have to pay the guy $21 million a year. That's why. If Debo made $1.2 million a year, Debo would have went for a 1st round draft pick at that point. Yeah. So those are some of the things you have to have. Maybe common sense will prevail. Should he get a number 1 for DK Metcalf? Probably, but you're not getting like a number 1 from like a top 10 pick there. You'd get the number 1 from a team that, like the Green Bay Packers, making the playoffs, drafting in the 20s. That's what makes some sense. But I don't think they're getting a 1 and a 3 and DK breaking the bank at the same time. So those teams are going to have to work some deals out. But if DK is unhappy, that's the last thing you want for a Seattle franchise. Mm-hmm. You're not supposed to be Super Bowl champions, but you want your best players in the building. But the last thing you want is hey, man, this guy's not even showing up in OTAs because he's so angry at us. That just never works out.
Geno Smith brought back on an extension now 2 off seasons ago. Both of his top targets outside of Jackson Smith and Jigba now looking for a new home.
Yep.
DK Metcalf seeking a trade. Tyler Lockett, after a decade in the Northwest, released yesterday as well by the Seahawks. Somebody who is not going anywhere, at least for the foreseeable future. That's Max Crosby in Sin City. A new regime for the Raiders, led by Pete Carroll and John Spytek. Not a lot of talent on the roster, so your most talented player, got to keep him in-house. The Raiders do, with a large payday for Max Crosby. 3-year, $106.5 million deal. That is $35.5 million annually, DRS, making Max Crosby now the highest paid non-QB in NFL history.
Max Crosby is great. Max Crosby was probably due for an extension. Max Crosby is one of the best defensive pass rushers. That is a premium position. Nobody looks at that contract and says that's ridiculous, because it's not. I just think it's ridiculous that the Raiders have paid out that contract when they were so talent depleted. And again, I just said, like, they need to spend money. There is a floor in the salary cap in the NFL they have to spend up to. But I don't know if the assets go the right direction, because I think they should be rebuilding. So if you pay this money and say, hey, what's our production back? Let's just say Max gets 17 sacks next year. Donnie, that's money well spent. And the Raiders still win 5 games. Was it money well spent, or should you have gotten 2 first-round picks back for Max Crosby, which absolutely would be the going rate?
Yeah, no doubt about it, DRS. I do understand the point. I think you are trying to make him the cornerstone of this rebuild, to have that stable floor, and a guy that has been there for all 6 years in Las Vegas, being that face of the franchise. Max Crosby has been that. He only played in 12 games this year. In his first 5 years with the Raiders, played in every single game. Still at 7.5 sacks this season, 105 tackles for loss since he joined the Raiders back in 2019. More on the early line next.
Which is a great place to be. Are you in the locker room, like you giving like the Any Given Sunday Inches Al Pacino speech? Are we there yet?
Oh yeah, I think we've been there. We're gonna have a long talk with Rob today about the 99-199 issue from last week. Like I just don't get how he is still employed. We gotta talk to ownership about that one.
The Smiley Show, only on SportsGrid.
Possible that while every other state is trying to copy New York and get that 51% tax on sports betting, is it possible that New York will actually lower their taxes? That's surprising.
The question is, of course, well, what sports books could go there? I mean, we're already at 9 that are the biggest ones out there in the market. So, I mean, who are you really missing?
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Remember when everyone was upset about NIL? You know what NIL did? Make sure Cooper Flagg wasn't playing with the G League Ignite. That's good for us. That's good for college basketball, when the best players are actually playing college basketball.
You're going to get battle tested. And it doesn't matter, Kevin, if you're at home or on the road. If you don't come ready to play in the SEC, you're going home with an L.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results.
What? How do you do this once?
Oh, Donnie, you've got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
A busy day early in the NFL offseason. Now less than a week away from the official start of the league year. That is 4 p.m. Eastern time this upcoming Wednesday. DRS, just one more point on Max Crosby. 105 tackles for loss since he joined the NFL. His rookie campaign in 2019, that is best around the National Football League. He gets his money, as does another defensive player yesterday. Zach Bond in Philadelphia, a 3-year, $51 million deal. That is $17 million per season. Fourth highest paid linebacker in the NFL, which he is very deserving of after his first year with the Eagles, an AP first team All-Pro. DRS, his first true year as a starting defensive player, made 16 in the regular season for Philly in 2024. Had an interception during Super Bowl 59. He had only made 14 starts in his first 4 years in the NFL, primarily a special teamer in New Orleans. So he is rewarded after a career year. For the guy you called the Bald Eagle, is that his nickname? That's incredible.
That's the Bald Eagle. That is the Bald Eagle. He's back in Philadelphia. My, if times have changed. The Eagles paying top dollar for linebackers. The Eagles paying a running back in the offseason top dollar, then giving him the most top dollars that you can get. I don't know what's going on with Howie Roseman, how he affords it or gets it done, but Zach Bond absolutely needed to be back because understand this. There's the thought process, oh, they found Zach Bond. He can leave. They'll find somebody else again. But when you find somebody who turns out to be the best middle linebacker in football, do you just pass it along and you say, no, like this guy means a lot to our locker room. It's a big deal of why we have the best defense in football. And Vic Fangio absolutely loves him being the quarterback of the defense. It made too much sense. And also credit this from the Eagles and Bond's perspective. They probably did a lot of work at the combine figuring out what that structure was. But the last thing you want to do is say, hey, kid, go test the free agent market and come back to us because you never know what that price point actually might turn out to be. I think they were both happy with this deal, and Zach Bond back in Philadelphia is a big deal to that defense moving forward.
You might be asking, how can the Eagles do this? They are paying everybody. They don't have the cap space. They don't have the funds to also pay the defensive side of the football. I'm not sure I have an answer, but somehow, some way, it is working out with the financial backing of owner Jeffrey Lurie and the financial wizardry of Howie Roseman. The Chargers cutting Joey Bosa, who has been a part of this Bolts organization for 9 seasons. Third overall pick by the San Diego Chargers back in the 2016 NFL Draft. Has spent 9 years with the Bolts, was a 5-time Pro Bowler, including this past season. 14 games played this year, DRS, only 14 the 2 years prior. But the former AP Defensive Rookie of the Year back in 2016, after 9 years with the Chargers, looking for a new home.
Yeah, he's going to get a pretty good payday, too, because as you said, banged up with the injuries, but when he is on the field, he is a difference maker at a premium position. And if he does head up north, look, is that new slogan for the 49ers? Make the 49ers great again? Could be. He could add to that team, Ben. He could do it. He could.
How long you been waiting on that?
I was waiting for since the opening. I was like, when can I bust
Good.
that one out where I know Ben will get a kick out of that? So I thought that was the perfect time. We didn't want to waste it. And again, with no audio, we waited for audio. Now we're back in business.
You would certainly think that Nick and Joey Bosa would be doing that together and having a lot of fun. The San Francisco 49ers are apparently a front runner to add Joey Bosa, the brother of Nick. We talked about Tyler Lockett being released by the Seattle Seahawks after a decade in Seattle. AP first-team All-Pro. His rookie season now 10 years ago with the Seahawks. Still very productive, although not really the lead guy. Jackson Smith and Jigba now looking around the wide receiver room like, where are all my friends?
By the way, he felt like he was the guy, though, Ben, in the second half of the season as the true number one on that team. That's who they like to go to. But by the way, if anybody doesn't know, and they should know, like Tyler Lockett, 10 years, there was a time in the NFL where you couldn't cover that guy when Russell Wilson was the quarterback. So this guy's put in a lot of work. He'll be a good veteran on another team, but big shakeup on one of the better wide receiving cores in the NFL.
No doubt about it. The Seahawks clearing house except for JSN. And after 7 years, all in Cincinnati, Sam Hubbard retiring from football. The Cincinnati kid, a Cincy native who played his college ball in the state in Columbus at Ohio State, calls it a career after 7 seasons.
Kid probably played all throughout his life. That's 4 years in high school. That's 4 years in college and 7 in the NFL. It's like, oh, he's only 29. That's a lot of football, man. Come on.
A lot of football. A lot of football. The Cowboys converting some of Dak Prescott's base salary to a signing bonus, freeing up in the past 48 hours more than $56 million. The Cowboys, big spenders? We'll see. College basketball next.
It's made every match so much more enjoyable to watch because you don't get the stinkers, right?
Right. It goes back to these guys being smart. They figured out that if I've got the hammer in my back pocket and I don't relinquish it, we can just play them straight up and win. They figured that out. So it's like, all right, now credit to the people at TGL. Like, no, we need to fix this because the hammer can change the match. And since we fixed it, you're not out of it.
The Smiley Show, only on SportsGrid.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Off of the combine this weekend, there's been lots of anonymous sources and position coaches and all these things that sat down in interviews with him. A lot of teams allegedly don't see him as a first-round pick.
Their big mouth that thinks they can do it either. They're embarrassing themselves. They all think they're so smart, everybody in this business. You're all a bunch of drips. Honestly, you don't know who's going anywhere.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
A Wednesday night in college basketball, live right here on this Thursday morning on the early line. So many great games in the final week at the high major level of this regular season. And even though some conference title races might already be clinched, you are battling for postseason positioning in your conference tourney. And maybe most importantly, a look at the one line in the big dance. That was also at stake in a top 10 tilt last night in Tuscaloosa between number 7 Alabama and 5th-ranked Florida. The Crimson Tide closing as a 3.5-point home favorite inside Coleman Coliseum. A total on the rise throughout Wednesday. 178.5, 179 and a hook even. And it still finds its way to the over as Florida pulls off yet another gigantic road upset, knocking off Alabama in Tuscaloosa, 99-94. Florida wins outright as a 3.5-point underdog in DRS. When you look at Todd Golden's Gators this year, they have won 3 consecutive games outright as a dog on the road. The last 3 games, they have been booked as an underdog in SEC play. And you could argue, and I think that argument would win, nobody has a better pair of road wins this year than UF. The road upset against Auburn on the Plains. The road upset last night over Alabama and T-Town.
Yeah, it's crazy. I thought Alabama has a nice bounce-back spot. They didn't embarrass themselves, but you see that second half, 58 points on the board from a road team in your own building. That can't happen. I know both teams played a lot of tempo, but you got to get stops here. And also, Alabama still scored 54 points at home in the second half, but just came up a little bit short. Rebounding could have been the key difference here. 50 total team rebounds for the Florida Gators, only 35 total rebounds for the Alabama Crimson Tide. But also coming down to this, The one handicap I liked was, hey, Alabama's going to play a little bit of defense at the three-point line, and they did. They held the Florida Gators to under 30% shooting from the three-point line, and it still wasn't good enough. Those are two really good teams in a really good conference. I thought Alabama was in a perfect spot at home, but credit the Florida Gators. You're right. You're 13-4 in conference play with monster victories on the road, tested each and every night, when maybe you don't bring your A game in some instances and still score 99 points in a road game against a really good opponent. That's a good look for the Florida Gators.
30 points to lead the way for Mark Sears, but not overly efficient. Just 2 of 10 from 3, 10 of 24 from the floor. And when you look at what Florida has done, awesome wins this year, maybe the 2 best in college basketball. The Gators now 12-5 against the spread in SEC play. They are one of the best cover teams in the conference throughout this SEC slate. Highest total of the year for UF last night, by the way, and it does push to the over. Donnie, Alabama has now gone over in 10 of 17 SEC games. With the way these totals are booked for the Tide, you would think they've gone over in every single game in conference action. Not necessarily the case. But the 6 totals now for Alabama at 170 plus in SEC games, 5 of the 6 to the over. And the only one under was a closing total of 181 against Kentucky in the game featured 179 points. All to say that when you see Alabama playing games the remainder of this season, Saturday in the rivalry matchup, in the Iron Basketball against Auburn, and throughout the SEC tourney, into the NCAA tournament, if the pace on the other side can keep up even slightly with Alabama, you're going to be looking for a lot of points scored in that basketball matchup.
Yeah, you probably are. And also maybe a little bit of a deflating episode where maybe the Alabama Crimson Tide say, hey, when we meet up again, maybe it's still going to be for the SEC championship. So now it's more about pride in the Iron Bowl of basketball, but a great way to send off the SEC regular season, no doubt. Before then, even more great conference action in the conference tournament next week.
No doubt about it. And a couple of huge games in the SEC we will break down for you in just a little bit. A result on a Wednesday night that will have plenty of implications. But let's get to our other top 20 tilt from Wednesday evening. And the road team, as a slight underdog, picks up a huge road victory. Maryland goes into the Chrysler Center in Ann Arbor and hands Michigan its second consecutive L. The Terps win outright as a 2.5-point dog, 71-65. A total of 155.5 stays well under. Not the prettiest offensive game. In fact, Maryland did not score a field goal in the final 6+ minutes of regulation and still won by 6 on the road.
Yeah, and the differences are simple in that when you go on the road, what do you want to do? Protect the basketball. 8 turnovers for Maryland, 16 total turnovers from Michigan. That's the difference right there. Extra possessions lead to extra points because you're right. If you just look at the box score, Michigan's got 43.5% from the floor at home, only 38% from Maryland. But if you're getting extra looks at the basket, extra rebounding advantage, that's what you get here. Turn the basketball over, lose basketball games, particularly close ones. That's what Michigan did yesterday.
Maryland had really struggled on the road to begin Big Ten play. Now 5 true road victories, 7th quad 1 win for the Terrapins last night. They have a winning record in, or an even 500, winning record, I should say, in quad 1 action. They have been really good, DRS, and the metrics for this Terrapins team really are sound. They rank 13th in the net now. Keep an eye on the Terps. You've heard of the Crab 5 a lot from their starting lineup, all but 4 points scored by the starting 5 for Kevin Willard's team yesterday. Maryland in a great position to earn a double bye in the Big Ten tournament. And Michigan on the other side. They had won 9 consecutive games, all decided by 4 points or fewer. We talked about the idea of luck. In the month of March, would it mean the Wolverines could pull ahead in tightly contested games because of their overwhelming experience, or would that luck run out? They get beat by 20 on Sunday at home. They lose to Maryland last night in a huge game, in a game the Mason Blue had to have if they really wanted to stay afloat in the Big Ten title race. Because of the loss by the Wolverines in the Terrapins' victory, Michigan State has claimed at least a share of the Big Ten title, number 11 in Tom Izzo's 3 decades in East Lansing. In the Spartans tonight, DRS, on the road in Iowa City against a bad Iowa team with an outright win the outright Big Ten championship tonight at Carver Hawkeye.
Yeah, by the way, you take a look at Michigan's schedule too, Ben. Let's just go for like late January. You look at it and say, oh, it's great you have wins, but was every game by like 2, 3, or 4 points max?
Yes.
And then obviously you have a lot of losses spilled in there as well. So it's not as if we take a look at some of the opposite side of the coin, like, hey, look at the Duke Blue Devils winning every game by 25 to 30 points. Wins are great, but you're not even winning in impressive fashion. That always catches up to you. And you see Illinois, Maryland losses, Michigan State on the road. Yeah, that's another loss about to be piled on the Wolverines as well.
Yeah, I would think so. That's the regular season finale on Sunday against their rivals in Sparty. That game will have NCAA tournament implications for both sides, but we could very well get to a point where Michigan State, if they win tonight, does not need that game for the Big Ten regular season crown. Michigan is a 14-5 team in Big Ten play, Donnie, but just 6-13 against the spread. Yeah. The second worst cover team in the conference in conference action. Only Iowa a worse cover percentage. How about an upset last night in Oxford? Donnie and I told you about this line. Yeah. Only a 2.5-point spread in favor of Tennessee on the road against Ole Miss. We knew it was trappy. It turned out to be correct. 78-76, the victory for the Runnin' Rebs, who were not playing great basketball entering the last few weeks. They pick up a huge home upset over the Volunteers.
And also, you take a look at Tennessee's defense, right? They gave up 78 points. One thing they do is defend the three-point line. They did that last night, 26% from the floor from three-point range for Ole Miss, and they still won that basketball game. So many times I've talked about it, Kevin and I, even on the money line. If it's one team that I don't trust who's a really good basketball team on a year-to-year basis, it's always Tennessee for me, Ben. It just is.
When you look at Ole Miss, DRS, they had dropped 3 in a row. They beat Oklahoma at home over the weekend, but did not cover as a 7.5-point home favorite. A huge win for them. Jamin Brakefield, 19 points off the bench for the Rebs last night, including the game-winning bucket in the final 10 seconds of regulation. Speaking of Oklahoma, big home victory yesterday for Porter Moser and the Sooners. Trying to stay on the right side of the bubble for the big dance, knocking off number 15 Missouri outright as a 4.5-point home underdog in a high-scoring affair. We'll also get to the two-time reigning champs, UConn, up next.
Philadelphia 76ers, they tried to play two different things. They tried to play contender, and they tried to play protect Joel Embiid. It wasn't doing Joel Embiid any good. This goes back to what I've talked about numerous times on this network. Why did they let him play in the first place? Why was he on the Olympic team? I mean, we looked at it last year in the playoffs against the Knicks. The damn kid was on one leg.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results.
What? How do you do this one?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
A notable Wednesday night in college basketball, final week of the regular season at the high major level. Even if conference championships in the regular season have been decided, we're talking conference tournament positioning, we're talking NCAA tournament seed lines as well. And a team, of course, that has been incredibly impressive and dominant the last two marches into early April. That would be the Connecticut Huskies, our two-time reigning champs. Maybe have not looked the part of the national champion for a good majority of this year. But if you're playing your best at the best moment, that is what counts, including a big home victory in stores last night inside Gamble Pavilion against Marquette. UConn wins 72-66, covering as a 3.5-point favorite. Total of 144 and a hook does stay under. Donnie, UConn is now 13-6. Straight up in the Big East. You probably think the two-time reigning champs have laid waste to this league the last 2 years en route to winning a national title. Yes, in 2023-24, not really the year prior. They were just 13-7 in the Big East. Did not win the Big East tournament either. So the fact that UConn might finish with similar numbers maybe should not scare you off the fact the Huskies could make yet another run in March.
Yeah, we'll see if they do. But the one run I liked last night was the run for them just to win one game going up against Marquette as the favorite. I thought they were the better team. And so many times you hear the handicaps come down. You say, well, where does this game have? I always call it styles make fights here. One team likes to shoot the three-point shot. One team really defends it well. Usually you can say, okay, well, are there any extracurriculars that I can look at? Like, okay, Marquette's at home. They'll probably shoot it better. We knew they were on the road. And I told you, it's much harder to win when you're at Gamble Pavilion in the XL Center just because of the on-campus environment. The students are right there. It's a smaller place here, and it's a lot more energy and a lot louder. But then again, look at the three-point shooting from a very good three-point shooting team, Ben, in Marquette. 3 of 22. 13% from the floor from the three-point line. That ends the game right there. So if your handicap is, okay, one team likes to shoot it, the other defends it well, let's see if those numbers hold up. And they did. That's the simplest handicap. Always start with the three-point line, then take a look at the point distribution and how it stacks up. But last night was a perfect carbon copy. Marquette's a better basketball team, but Marquette was just in a tough spot on the road in a must-win environment, it felt like, for UConn, and I thought they would play good defense from the three-point line, and they did yesterday. Good win by the UConn Huskies.
The Marquette Golden Eagles are a very talented team in construction. Much like Maryland, they rely wholly on their starting five, and they have so much experience in it. But when you look at your three guards, Chase Ross, Cam Jones, and Stevie Mitchell, combining to go 0 from deep, 0 of 12, you don't really have a player to provide the spark off the bench to get the starters out of that rut, as we have seen. The Golden Eagles also fall to 13-6 in Big East play. UConn has not been covering a ton of conference games this year, just 6-13 against the spread. Texas Tech beating a bad Colorado team, as we expected, 91-75. Clemson, a little bit tighter than we thought, maybe on the road in Chestnut Hill. Still a big win over BC to provide that pressure on Duke entering regular season finale Saturday in that conference for the regular season crown. 78-69, the Eagles do cover as a 14.5-point home favorite. In Minnesota, always keeping it close, but do end up losing by 7. Wisconsin, a road win in the barn, 74-67. That line, 6.5 points.
Yeah.
So the Badgers do cover the pregame number by the hook.
Yeah, some good stuff all the way across. Clemson's that team, again, doesn't get a lot of respect because they do play in a conference that's a little bit down, but the Duke Blue Devils take up a lot of that respect, and it's the same thing with Louisville. 85-68 over a bad Cal team. 17-2 also in the ACC. Teams to take a look at. But I told you already, like, the eyes on the prize, some teams that you can sort of buy a little bit lower on. Texas Tech picking up a victory at home against a bad Colorado team. That's a team that I do have my eye on. But a lot of these teams jockeying for positioning and certainly mostly trying to say, you know what? Can we improve our seed line? Can we win some of these quad one games? Can we take over business? Or how about this? Just not have a bad loss on the resume to end the season. Most of these teams now, Ben, one more game to play in the regular season before they head off into their conference tournament. So a lot of teams getting familiar with what they need to do in order to improve that seed line. It's fun to watch.
Yeah, DRS, not a lot of action at the high major level in regular season contests today. So really, when you look around the country, especially those teams in the top 25, one more regular season game at some point this weekend. If Duke goes to Chapel Hill and knocks off North Carolina. That will do it. The Blue Devils will win the ACC regular season crown. They'll be the top team in the conference tournament. But Clemson and Louisville making sure it's not just a cakewalk for Duke. They are the Blue Devils. The other Blue Devils, that would be Central Connecticut. The hottest team in college basketball continues in its opening game in the NEC tournament. Central Connecticut 86-67. The victory over Lemoyne last night to start off NEC tournament play. Make it 13 consecutive wins for the Blue Devils.
Yeah, by the way, yesterday on the radio show, I host on Wednesdays solo, and one of the games I brought up was that saying this should be an absolutely hammer job, and somebody retweeted me back with a ticket, says, thank for the Central Connecticut winner yesterday over Lemoyne with the ticket showing there. So the people do listen, they love it, and as I say, you can look at the top of the standings and have a lot of fun betting these basketball games, but I'm telling you, if you go down that Ken Palm list all the way to the bottom, mismatches are so much fun to handicap because you get, wait a second, this team is great, this team stinks. Yeah, why shouldn't they put up a lot of points and dominate these basketball games? So just because you don't have the big names involved doesn't mean you can't get big victories from those said teams.
Like by like competition. DRS always looks forward to find those handicaps, and Central Connecticut does cover, winning by 19 as a 13.5-point favorite. A total of 144.5 skies to the over. You don't see a lot of overs in Northeast Conference action unless you are Central Connecticut. So a big win there. Donnie, also something to monitor down the final few days of this regular season, maybe even into conference tournaments. We have seen it here this week. Teams on the road as slight favorites that need to stay on the right side of bubble conversation for the big dance have performed well. North Carolina hammers Virginia Tech a couple of nights ago. VCU, a victory over Duquesne in A-10 action. Last night, Xavier, who opened as a pick'em inside Hinkle Fieldhouse against Butler, closed as a 3.5-point favorite. Got a big win over the Bulldogs, 91-78 for the Musketeers. Xavier trying to be that fifth Big East team potentially to get into the NCAA tournament. We'll talk those title odds. We'll talk Wooden Award odds. We'll talk one line up next on the early line.
It's made every match so much more enjoyable to watch because you don't get the stinkers, right? Right. It goes back to these guys being smart. They figured out that if I've got the hammer in my back pocket and I don't relinquish it, we can just play them straight up and win. They figured that out. So it's like, all right, now credit to the people at TGL. Like, no, we need to fix this because the hammer can change the match. And since we fixed it, you're not out of it.
The Smiley Show, only on SportsGrid.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Off of the combine this weekend, there's been lots of anonymous sources and position coaches and all these things that sat down in interviews with him. A lot of teams allegedly don't see him as a first-round pick.
Their big mouth that thinks they can do it either. They're embarrassing themselves. They all think they're so smart, everybody in this business. You're all a bunch of drips. Honestly, you don't know who's going anywhere.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
Live right here on this Thursday morning on the early line on SportsGrid. We round out our opening hour with a focus here in the month of March on college basketball. DRS, final few games for every team at the high major level around D1 college hoops in this regular season. Before we get to the conference tournament week in full next week, and of course the NCAA tournament on the horizon. We are just 10 days away from Selection Sunday, where the NCAA tournament field of 68 will be unveiled. So now we look at those national championship prices. Auburn had a small edge on Duke the last few weeks, a couple of cents, 20, 30 cents here and there. Now DRS, co-favorites to win that national championship at plus 340. But Florida proving its might each and every night, plus 750. Now in front of Houston, the Cougs had that third best number earlier this week at plus 850. And then you get a little bit of a drop-off, nearly doubling the price of the Cougs to get to Tennessee and Alabama, both at a 15-1 number. But the story remains the same. 4 of the 6 best prices hail from the same league, that is the SEC.
And they should. That's the way it's supposed to be. Because if you do look at the 2 best teams just based on dominance this season, Auburn plays in a much harder competition conference than the ACC. But you can't fault. Duke doesn't win every game by 2 points. They win every game by 22 points or more at that point. That's why the respect is there. Both lineups absolutely fantastic. But you do have to give credit to the SEC. Florida, you just saw go on the road with a big win against Alabama. But you can't really knock Alabama because why? They got beat by Florida, who's a really good basketball program in itself. The outliers, if you will, right? Houston and St. John's that you see popping up here. How much respect do we give to Michigan State out of the Big Ten, who is a real quality program? But you know what I do like? I've already identified the 2 teams that I think I'm probably betting. And I don't usually bet them until after the conference tournaments because, as we know, it's, hey, what's your schedule? Well, we don't know it. Oh, I like that team. You see the schedule, like, they didn't do them any favors. So when they see the bracket come out, you are going to get, like we used to in soccer, like the group of death. Like, how the heck did Duke wind up in this? They're going to have to beat 3 top 10 teams just before they even get to the Final Four. I still like Texas Tech, who, by the way, 16 of 33 from three-point range last night. It's one of the teams to keep an eye on. But also look at Iowa State. I told you that a couple days before. They took that, I can't say a bad loss to BYU, but it's a loss to a quality opponent they probably shouldn't have had. They were 20-1. Now look, 25-1. So for me, hey, Texas Tech and Iowa State, you want to bow out quickly in the conference tournament, go ahead and do it, because that'll mean I'll probably get an even better price on top of it. But I'm having fun looking at all these teams and you're saying, all right, Auburn and Duke number 1 and number 2, but legitimate threats after that, no doubt about it.
So, DRS, I crunched the numbers earlier, maybe about a month ago, month and a half ago, whatever it was, and laid down a bunch of wagers. I've had some bets on various college basketball teams dating back to early November when the season started. But 4 teams I absolutely bet on based on these historic trends from Ken Palm in the Week 6 AP Top 25. In the last 20 years, all 20 national championship winners of the NCAA men's tournament have been ranked in the top 12 of the Week 6 AP poll. 19 of 20 have ranked in the top 25 of the adjusted offensive efficiency metric on Ken Palm. 16 of 20 have ranked in the top 25 of adjusted defensive efficiency. 4 teams fit that criteria as of right now. That would be the favorites in Auburn and Duke, and then Florida in Iowa State. Iowa State's number improving over the last week, despite the home double OT loss to BYU, where, Donnie, you're right. They're not supposed to lose at home, though, inside Hilton Coliseum as a 9.5-point favorite. But the Cougars are streaking right now. They've won 7 straight. They have covered in 7 straight. But Iowa State's number getting better despite that loss. It should show you what you need. So now is the time to start getting those wagers in, or you wait until Selection Sunday and you see how the bracket lays out, because every coach in college basketball will tell you seed line is great. If we're a 2, that's great. If we're a 3, that's great. If we're a 4 seed, that's great. What matters most to us is our matchups throughout the madness, because that can dictate your success.
Exactly. And that's the battle here. That's the reason is why you want to be the top overall seed. Theoretically, right? It's supposed to give you the easiest path. But every single year, when we take a look at March Madness and we get Selection Sunday and you get like that sort of like 5 to 10 hours breather to say, okay, let me get that second look at the bracket. Like, how the heck did Florida end up in the same spot as like Alabama's? Like, that shouldn't have happened. They misseed all the time. And that's why the arguments are fantastic once you see them play out in real time.
Interesting move yesterday, by the way. Jay Lucas, top Duke assistant, going to become the next head coach of Miami. That was largely speculated. But he is going to leave the Blue Devils at the end of the regular season to get an early start in Coral Gables. Interesting development. NBA news to start hour 2 next.